All right, hey folks, this is Dustin Moret, and joining me here is going to be Hazed from CLG, and this is going to be a bit different. I know I used to do a talk show called The Hype where I streamed it live, and it lasted quite a long time and went super in depth, but this is going to be kind of a shorter version of that. I just wanted to interview the teams that were going to Cluj from North America, and so I have Hazed here to talk with me from CLG, and we're just going to kind of talk a little bit about CLG in recent times as they look to attend their next major. So that's pretty much what I'm focused on, not a deeper history or anything like that, but just focused on what has been most recent. So first of all, how's it going, man? Thanks for joining me.
I'm tired. I didn't get a lot of sleep last night, but
Yeah, busy. That streamer life, dude. That streamer life.
yeah, we've been streaming a lot lately. But I'm making it.
You're making it. I got you, man. Well, basically, where I kind of wanted to start with this was the last CEVO finals that you went to, the season 7 event, okay, which was, I guess, the first international event that CEVO had when we had the teams coming over from Europe and you guys played in that. And the reason why I wanted to bring this event up is not really so much the result you had this event, but like this is one of the first times I think that we noted a change in your team role wise that still stands to this day. And so that's kind of what I wanted to ask you about because I've always kind of speculated like what actually happened here. But obviously, the context of this is that Finesse couldn't come to this event, right? He was having some type of visa issues or whatever, and so you had to use Sankington as a stand-in. But then on top of that, you also had to use a new IGL because obviously Finesse wasn't going to be there, and so you use Cutler as the in-game leader for this event, which is still your in-game leader now. I guess my question would be is were you always kind of planning on trying a new in-game leader and this just was like the perfect opportunity to try it, or was this more of like, oh, we used Cutler at this event, it actually went pretty well, let's keep rolling with this? Like, what was the process of you switching in-game leaders? Like, how did it actually go?
I mean, we had planned on trying out Cutler before like the whole SIVO thing happened. Um, it's something we'd messed with. We've had so many tournaments in a row that we never really we wanted to practice it before we did it, and we didn't get a lot of time to practice it before some of these events. So when Sivo came along and Finesse couldn't go, it fit perfectly. So we're like, yeah, just I mean, we literally couldn't practice for the event because Sanks couldn't practice with us.
Right.
He was allowed to go to the LAN with us, but only on the condition that he still practices at normal times with his team, which is like, normal hours for us. So we literally couldn't practice. So we're like, yeah, just call then and we'll try it. So I mean, it worked out. We liked it. It's good to have like a fresh and like new view on how to end game lead, and you can see new ideas. It was never meant to be a permanent fixture, I don't think. But it's just stuck for a while. I mean, in the future, I don't know if it'll even still be this way, but for now it is.
Right. So basically, you're saying it was kind of a conscious decision to do even prior to this situation. It was just that it was kind of like a perfect storm. Like, okay, well, Finesse can't be here anyway. Let's go ahead and trial it out now. So that's
Yeah.
kind of neat that kind of worked out like that, I guess. Uh, I think just going back to this in-game leader thing, though, like moving forward to today, one would say from the outside at least, or my own personal opinion from watching you guys play, since I watch pretty much all your games, is that it seems like you are a better led team now. And I don't know if that's just because, like, in general, everyone on the team is communicating differently or working together differently, or if it's just the way Cutler leads the team. But first, I would just ask, do you notice that the team looks like it's more disciplined? It looks like it runs better than in the past? And if so, is this part of Cutler being a leader or just part of like a whole team dynamic change?
I'd say like at a fundamental level, yeah, we're probably better. With Cutler calling, like uh we're much more patient and um uh, yeah, just more disciplined when he's calling and leading. But there's pros and cons to every caller, and there's definitely cons to him calling. Just like there's cons to finesse calling. But and I don't want to go into too much detail about it because it could potentially hurt us for the major. But if someone in our group watches. So I don't want to go into detail about it, but there are definitely cons to it. But it's something we're conscious of and we're working on. So it's not a big deal. And
Mm-hmm.
there's no such thing as a perfect caller. I
Right.
mean, everyone knows that. So it's just a matter of, filling in those gaps where they appear.
Right. So I guess I'll try to weasel in some information from it. I'll come from a different angle and ask this differently. Um, as a team, do you feel as like, because I know people used to criticize your communication a lot, right? Like everyone knows they had these POV VODs that people could go and watch, or POV live streams. This was a long time ago, right? Like this was a few
Yeah.
majors ago when that happened. Maybe it may have even been your first major that you played
Yeah.
at. I remember like the Nip on Mirage game. This was like I said, quite a ways away, right? So it's kind of hard to bring up something so
Yeah,
long
that was
ago.
in
But
March.
right. But my point would
Yeah.
be is do you feel as though those sometimes those communication problems still exist even now, or do you feel like y'all have gotten better at how you filter out information or work on being more concise in your calls, so to speak? It also seemed like at that time it was kind of like more of a council call rather than like a firm leader, so to speak. Do you think you still are that way, or is it more of like people have quieted down more, there is more firm leadership? What do you think about that?
Oh yeah, on T side definitely we're much more of a leader oriented like calling system. It's much less of a like democratic thing. Um, we still give our opinions and we'll say, I feel like that team is doing this, we can counter it in this way. But we
Right.
don't say let's do it. We just like give the information to the leader instead. Um, which is much different from back then. Back then, it was more like, "Yo, we're gonna do this because they're doing this,"
Right.
instead of just suggesting it.
Hmm.
So yeah, it's much more of leader based. No one really overcalls anymore, which is really important. Overcalling was a big problem for us a few months back. So yeah, we've definitely improved. It's just, I mean, the comms still aren't great in general, but on T side, they're definitely better.
Yeah, right. I mean, I just kind of wanted to bring this up because I feel like people might still have this image in their head of back in March, right? Like you just mentioned, and I kind of wanted to, and no one's been able to hear your communication since because we've pretty much done away with POV streams. So I thought it was kind of important to kind of see where you're at now in comparison to then, so people can maybe have a different image of how you guys work as a team. Now, you've had some recent events overseas prior to whenever you were trying to qualify for Cluj. Just included the last major, Cologne, which actually wasn't too far away. Like this time around, the majors seem a lot closer together than what they've been in the past. And I guess IEM Gamescom and then Cologne were kind of the two events that you attended during this time period. And in both of these tournaments, I think especially the match versus Navi on Cobble, where you got eliminated from the event, that's the one that sticks out the most to me. But also maybe TSM on Train at Gamescom or Envy on Inferno at Gamescom. All these games have something in common, in which case you had a pretty solid lead. You were looking like you might actually pull the upset and win it. But then something kind of happens, and this is especially the case versus Navi on Cobble, where it just doesn't happen for you. It just doesn't. The game doesn't get closed out by you guys. Is this a struggle you feel your team has to close games? Like it seemed pretty consistent between these two events, or what do you owe to this? I guess.
I mean, this dates back to like when we first started going to international lands or just competing at a high level in general. We tend to lose some of the easiest rounds to win. For example, usually whenever we're in a big lead against a team we're like an underdog to, we tend to get ecoed out of nowhere. And I don't know if I'd say it's a composure issue individually from each player, because it's not like one player that's fucking it up every time. It's everyone. So I would say it's composure, but we've gotten better. You know, just from attending so many lands, we've just gotten better at it. We're more comfortable, but it still happens, and it's really just eco rounds, man. That's the problem. And in almost every match we lose to a top team that's a close game, it's usually because we lose an eco round. If we
Right.
don't lose that eco round, we probably close out the game. So it's really frustrating that ecos have been the bane of our existence, but we just, and like for some reason, if they have a P250 and no armor, we just can't kill them.
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain it.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's just because, like, looking at your last major and all the maps you played, you had a lead after the first half in all 3 games. Now, of course, you did beat E-Battle on Mirage. That's why you made it as far as you did. But like I said, against Navi on Cabo, against Nip on Dust too, it just this happens. And I mean, you've already kind of noted like why you think it happens. Like it's ecos, these different things that get to you. Is this something that you guys like consciously try to prepare for next time around as you're going into this next major? Like a particular scenario that maybe you're practicing or looking at, or is it just about preparing in general?
No, we don't try to like specifically, resolve like the eco issue because we don't need to make a setup or for example for like one map just because of an eco round. We should be able to use our default setups because we know they work. We do it in practice. We beat ecos, in practice with these setups, but for some reason when it becomes like a high pressure situation, we choke. So it's kind of weird. It's honestly I can't explain it other than that. It's just like composure. It's
Mm-hmm.
the only thing that I can say. It's just composure.
I got you. So we already kind of talked about how you changed in-game leader. Cutler now being the in-game leader nowadays instead of Finesse, and we've already kind of dabbled into that. But also throughout these events, I guess what I would just discuss was maybe a con, a negative of what happened for you guys. But I also want to take a positive approach to this too on things I noticed that looked good. And I just kind of want to see what you think about it. I feel like we saw some other role swaps kind of take place whenever Cutler became in-game leader. So Finesse is now a dedicated lurker. You have gone back to entry fragging, whereas you used to kind of lurk a little bit when Finesse was calling. Tarik, I guess, can be more of a wild card now. He has a bit more freedom, but generally I think I see him as kind of more like a secondary entry fragger or sometimes entry as well. And then obviously you have JDM opping and Cutler being that support next to IGL. And my argument, because I did a vlog about you guys, I don't know if you saw it, where I was kind of previewing you guys for Cluj. And I noted in that vlog, and I'll say it now, is I feel like everyone now is kind of in their optimal role. Like, I think that the way you have everything set up now is probably the best for everyone as far as how they're performing. Do you agree with this? Like, do you think you guys finally have it right in the sense that you have people where they need to be, or do you still feel like there's some things that need to be worked on?
I wouldn't say it's optimal roles, but I mean, we're pretty. I'd say for the most part, we're pretty content or happy. I've always wanted to be an entry fragger, but and when I first joined the team, that's what I
Yeah,
did. I
yeah,
was an entry
exactly.
fragger. That's what I enjoy. But I kind of pride. I think all of us kind of pride ourselves on being able to play any role. Maybe not at the highest of levels, but we're pro players, so we feel like we should be able to play any role in any given situation. So, I switched to lurking. That was fine. I didn't like it, but I did okay at it. I definitely got better at lurking just from playing against these, other pros. I could see how they lurked, and it was a great learning experience because I learned a lot on like how to counter the lurker from playing that role. So it was really important that I did that, but I wouldn't say everyone's in the most optimal role. No, Cutler really likes to entry frag, and as a strat caller, you can't entry frag. So that's kind of, I guess, the downside to our current setup. But everyone else is. It seems like they're in a good role for themselves. I know Finesse likes to entry frag too. We have a lot of players on the team who like to entry frag. It's just hard to, you know, we can't have 3 entry fraggers. You
Right, right,
could, I
right.
guess, but
If you're just one of those teams that travel in a pack and just attack
yeah.
like an Envy or something like that, for
We,
example.
we'd have to develop our own play style and like be
Yeah, yeah.
totally unique. We wouldn't be like any other team if that was the case. But I mean, the current meta shows, and historically, lurkers just work. So you almost need a lurker. Um, but for now, I mean, I'd say we're pretty happy. Yeah, we'll see in the next few months if anything changes. I don't think it will, but it might.
Right. So straying away from that though, you kind of mentioned like, so I guess the only thing you would change to make it optimal is if Cutler was somehow entry fragging. In which case, who would you think would be better as a supportive role in that case if you did move Cutler to an entry fragger? Let's just play hypothetical here, right? Like if you had it the way you think it would be best for everyone, what would it be?
Well, it's hard to say who would be the support because, in my opinion, Color is he's he is the best support player in North America.
Right.
I don't even think there's anyone close. Every event you go to, every time they come out with a stat sheet, they always have that support statistic where it's like kills per round, assists per round, or stayed alive. Cutler is almost always number one, even if we do poorly at the event, which is incredible. He is very good at supporting. Um, so I think he's literally the best at it. It's just not what he enjoys doing.
I got you. Okay.
Um, so I don't know who would be support. Um, it would have to be probably either me or yeah. We just have so many entry fraggers. It's hard to say.
I got you.
It'd probably be me. I'd probably go back to being kind of a like third, fourth man in the site,
Hmm.
where I'd throw the setups and things like that for the other players. But
I got you.
yeah, it's hard to say.
So on top of this whole like people being in their correct roles, at least like from an analyst point of view, like when I watch you play, I feel like the roles look really good right now. It's also I think important that you see Cutler still maintaining his consistent fragging ability while leading the team, which is I know sometimes something that a lot of in-game leaders struggle with. Or at least when you look at numbers, that's what you see. But it seems like Cutler, it hasn't really affected them at all, which I think has been huge because he always has been kind of the rock for your team for as long as I can remember. On you can almost always know what you're going to get out of him on any given game. But also the other player I wanted to point at, I think you've played pretty good at entry lately. I think Tarik has always been like a big star for you guys, but JDM seems to have been consistently getting better. Like his player rating goes up every single LAN he plays over the last few events you've played. And I know it's kind of old news now that you brought him into the team, but I don't think I ever really spoke to you since then. What do you think JDM has added to your team that other operas you had in the past weren't able to do, or what do you think that he's doing so well for you guys? You know.
Um, well, like we had JDM on the team before, and the main reason he left the team was it was like an internal dispute, but we all had problems with him in the past. My problem with him was I thought he didn't practice at all. It really bothered me. Um, but like ever since we picked him up again, he made it very clear to me whenever we were looking for an offer, he was like, I've changed. I will practice all day. And he wasn't lying, man. When we're in the gaming house, he was op DMing for like probably 5 hours a day. It was unbelievable how much he was op DMing, and then he would practice, and we'd do team practice, and then he would stream. So he was literally in CS for it felt like 12 to 14 hours a day for like weeks at a time. It was unreal. And I think that's why he's gotten so much better with the op. He's just like he's constantly like enveloped into the game, and his op is on point.
Mm-hmm.
He's super focused now, and it shows in his gameplay, man. He's playing fantastic.
Right. I think he noted in an interview as well that I remember him listening to, because I listened to like everything out there, that he had been watching a lot of Guardian demos and he was like trying to, because that's the style of opera he kind of wanted to be or felt that he could be. And he was like constantly watching how Guardian positioned himself or angled out things and such. So that's just adding to what you've already said that he seemed to put a lot of hours into the game practice wise, and it's helped. And speaking of demos, this is kind of another thing that people had an image of their head in, I think, after listening to some discussion that like Steele and Tarik had on
Oh
their
God.
stream. You remember this, right?
Yeah.
Well, this is your opportunity to clear the air, really. I mean, was that a thing in the past where you weren't really watching demos very much? If so, has it changed? I mean, I might as well just put it out there and let you clear it up, right? I'm not going to get too specific.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of a thing, I guess you could say. I mean, the way we had it before was our strat caller, which was Ness at the time. He watched a lot of demos, so he did all the research for us. We almost didn't need to watch any demos. Um, if we were, and back then, a lot of what we played were best of ones. So um, it was much better, I guess, to counter teams because you could counter that if you knew what map it was
Right.
going to end up being, which Finesse was very good at. All he had to do is study that one map, and he could just tell us, they're going to be here at this time. We could have watched it with him, but he never asked us to, and we never like took initiative and did it. So he just did it for us, and then he gave us the information. So it made it really easy for us, and all we had to do was like DM and, just practice on our own while he did that. So it was just a different system back then, but now everything's BO3s. Whereas I think watching demos is way more important because you need way more information. Um, so we all watch demos now all the time. I would say all the time. I think when we're all in the house, we do on any given practice day. If we know there's like a tournament coming up, like a major in particular, we'll watch probably 2 to 3 demos a day. Um, it depends. Sometimes the teams we're grouped with don't have a lot of material, like for the this major's qualifiers, which are in Stockholm. We had a team in our group, CS:GO Lounge. They hardly had any demos. I think they had
Right.
maybe like 6 or 7 demos of their team with the current roster. So it's really hard for us to get information on them. But I mean, we try. It's definitely different from back then. We're all involved now in watching demos, whereas back then, I mean, there was only basically one person doing it.
Right. Do you ever look at y'all's own stuff to like look at mistakes
Oh
or
yeah.
things that you've made, or ever like look at like if you're learning wanting to like play a map better, look at some of the best teams on that map and the things that they do? Is that something you also factor into it?
If players are looking for what the like, if they think a player's really good at this position on a map that they play, they do it individually. We don't watch it as a team.
Right. That makes
Whereas our
sense.
our own demos, we watch our own demos uh, a lot
Hmm.
because we feel like if we lose a big game, especially a close game, it's mainly because we made mistakes, not that they made great plays. Um, and like I'll give you a very recent example. Our game against Liquid on Cobblestone
They
for
clutched you
SIVO.
7 times in that
Yes, we
game.
lost every clutch almost. I think we maybe won once or twice in
One
clutches,
JDM
but we
had one clutch that was
yeah.
pretty
So
solid.
we lost a way too many clutches, and we lost 16-13. If you
Yeah.
lose that many clutches and you lose 16-13, they didn't outplay you. You outplayed yourself. Like I don't want to take credit away from Liquid. They're a great team, but like we deserved. Well, I'm not saying we played like we obviously threw the match, but like in our minds, if we didn't fuck up, we won that map. There's not even it's not even a question to us.
Hmm.
So that's definitely we everyone's down at home right now. They're not here at the house, so we're taking like a break from the game. We are practicing from home a little bit, but it's not as serious. Um, but when they get back, we're definitely gonna watch that demo. There's no question. We've already, as soon as the match was over, before we went into the next map,
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
said we're
Yeah.
watching that demo. There's
Yeah.
no question. We can't
Yeah.
have that happen again.
This is kind of like, I guess, like an aside, but I remember there was one where Hiko had like 18 HP and dropped down. The bomb's down long, be plat 20 seconds left, and Tarik pushes him. So that was one clutch I remember that went a little awry. But there was definitely just some big plays in too. That was a crazy game. Me and Van Silly casted that, and that was probably one of the most, for a viewer, that was probably one of the funnest games we had ever seen all season. So I don't know if that probably doesn't make you feel any better, but it was a fun game to watch.
When
Uh,
clutches are fun to watch.
oh
I
yeah,
don't.
of course.
I completely understand. It just sucks that we're on the
It was also
receiving end
really
of
back and
it.
forth for a while there in the first half. Like you guys won a big
Yeah.
force buy in the second round for losing pistol and like things like that. It was a good game.
Yeah.
Um, Going back to the whole demo thing though, I know. I mean, I think it's like pretty obvious now that like Steel was helping you to some degree at some point a long time ago, or at least he was staying with you guys and streaming from your house, whatever. But then we know Valve released a statement reminding people these people can't be involved, and then all of a sudden that was kind of done with. And at this point, at least I don't know that you guys have any type of coach or analyst or anything like that. I know a lot of teams are moving in that direction. Is that something that you guys have considered trying again, or is it not something that you're so worried about at this point?
Yeah. I mean, we're actively. I think we put on a post. I'm not sure, but we've been actively looking for a coach. There's the other roles too that we're trying to fill in our management. It's not just a coach. We're looking for like an analyst as well. So yeah, we're actively looking for these positions because we want, you know, at the end of the day, we want to spend as much time playing CS as we possibly can because that's going to help us perform better. Whereas right now we do spend a lot of time ourselves watching demos and studying and creating strats and doing things like that. If we have someone doing that for us, it would, almost like expedite our process and being better. So that's kind of what we want. Uh, Hopefully we can get it by the end of the year. I mean that's kind of a big time frame to be honest, but it's right now like there aren't a lot of coaches out there. There's a few, but it's not something that's just easily accessible in the CS:GO scene currently, and we want them to live with us. We don't want them to be, online. So that makes it even harder. That like,
Yeah, of course.
that cuts out so many candidates. We've talked
Oh
to a
yeah.
bunch of people, and as soon as we mention living with us, they're just like, I don't think I'm gonna move. And it's like, okay. So that's definitely the hardest part about finding a coach, but we definitely want one.
Okay, that's cool. Let's see here. So you already kind of mentioned like a recent game you had with Liquid, but the head-to-head matchup goes back even further than that. When you look at like the IY Powerfall Invitational or the PGL North American qualifier, now, this is a team that before they had Hiko and such, you guys were beating them. Like you beat them out for Cologne in that particular LAN event. You had beat them at the season 7 CEVO finals, even with the ringer on your team to eliminate them for that tournament. But now recently they've been getting the better of you. Do you think this is more of them getting better as a team, which I guess that's kind of obvious they are, but is the fact that this head-to-head matchup not going your favor anymore, is it more due to that, or is it more due to you guys having issues?
To be fair, our record against Liquid Online has always been negative for us. Maybe in leagues because there's, you see only the league games, you don't see the scrims. It looks like we were kind of even or maybe even winning in some cases, but uh through scrims and matches combined, Liquid has always beaten us. I don't say it like always, but I mean they definitely beat us more than we beat them. It's always been that way with any roster. They're just like, I don't know, they're super talented individually, and they just make huge plays, especially when they're comfortable. I think the reason they've done poorly in some cases, and it's mainly because most of their poor performances are on land, and I think it's because some of the players were just uncomfortable on land. But now they're comfortable, and they have Hiko, who's an amazing land player. He's online. It's what he's just whatever. He's another player, but on land, he's just like he elevates himself to another level. And they really needed that, and I think it's helping all the players on the team perform at a high level on land now. So I think the team's definitely better,
Right.
and I think that's why it's harder for us. But historically, they've always beaten us. It's not really, I don't think anything online. It feels like we're playing against the same team with
Right.
Flowsick, honestly.
Right. So now looking at your actual qualification for Cluj, and then I'll just do a couple more questions and we'll wrap this up. You already mentioned how you beat CS:GO Lounge. That was a 2-1 series where you lost D2 in overtime, but you won Overpass and Mirage. It didn't seem to be too big of an issue. And then you beat Flipside Tactics on Cash and Train. Uh, a couple of points to take away from this was, you did struggle there on that Dust 2 game against CS Lounge. Was there anything to that, or?
Same thing that happened against Liquid on Cobble, man. We lost some really terrible clutches. There were two clutches where we had bombed down outside B, and we were on CT, and we had like, two or three people alive, and they had like 15 seconds left, and we calmed so poorly that we lost the round. People were overcalming and calling the wrong thing, and it was causing bad plays, and they ended up clutching the round. It's the same thing that happened on Cobble against Liquid. It was just really poor composure from the players on the team. That's all it is.
Gotcha. Then, of course, like I said, you 2-0'd Flipside Tactics, and boom, you were in. You were the first team out of that group. So, congratulations and well done there.
Thank you.
It seems, I mean, in this, you played 5 different maps at the tournament. And in general, I know you guys ban Inferno a lot. But other than that, I mean, where do you feel your map pool is right now? I know that's like a thing that a lot of people are talking about, teams' map pools and where they're at. Obviously, Cash has historically been a good map for you. Dust 2 was the map you got your upsets on in the past. Um, you know, Cobble, you looked pretty hot against Navi, but just barely missed closing that out. And in the NA scene, you've looked good on it. I mean, where do you think your map pool's at this point going into this major?
I think we have 6 maps that are high level that we can play against any team in the world pretty much at this point. Just Inferno is pretty rough for us, and it's something we're working on. It's just Inferno is such an unforgiving map. If every CT player has a smoke and a molly, you just can't do anything. It's so hard. So it's not something we enjoy playing, but I mean, as you saw against IAM, when we're forced to play it, we can play it and take, envious to,
To the brink,
16,
yeah, yeah.
13, and
Hey,
we should have won. We lost to Ecos again. Right? Eco 3 times in that map. Um, but it's just, I'd say 6 maps. Yeah, we're ready to play at a high level.
Gotcha. And I caution to even talk about anything that's happened after the Cluj qualifier, because really all you've done since then is play like your online leagues, which in ESCA you're doing fine. I think you have like a 4-1 or 5-1 record in ESCA or something like that. Obviously, we know what happened with Sivo. We already, touched on the loss to Liquid, and that kind of killed your land spot. But um, I'll come out and speak in your favor that you guys got screwed over on a couple of games with internet problems that pretty much put you in the spot that you were in anyway. Like you should have cleanly dismayed the event if it hadn't have been for that. Those ties against Winter Fox and Denial were, you know, certainly external factors were part of that.
Yeah.
But that leads to another question is like how has that affected y'all's mentality and your ability to like prepare properly and stuff? All these internet issues you've had, or have you already solved it? Is it fine now? I mean, what's your take on that?
Yeah, we pretty much solved it, but whenever it was happening, it didn't really stop our preparation. It just made us really depressed and like, some of us angry. We just didn't even want to play in some cases. We were just, we were ready to just forfeit the match because we kept getting DC'd. It put us in a really bad like, state of mind. It wasn't fun. It was
Right.
definitely the least amount of fun I've ever had playing
Yeah,
competitively.
I bet it was tough to watch, and I guess the only like saving grace is there's so much other stuff going on right now besides that event. You got the I by Power Cup. If you can do well at that, then you got San Jose, obviously the major. 2016 is shaping up to be very interesting based on all the news that we're hearing. So I guess that makes it a bit better. I do notice you are in a new house now. Anything you want to say about that? I mean, are you liking it? Has it helped? I mean, just having a team
Uh,
house in general has it helped. I mean, I guess just the idea of the team house that doesn't really exist in CS:GO very much, especially within North America. I think only you and maybe now Winter Fox is about to do it. And Cloud9 mentioned it, but it's never happened. I mean, what is your take on that?
I think the team house, I'd say it helps definitely more than it hurts because you can get people like in line and on the same page so much easier if you're in person, and it makes you much closer with your teammates, which is always, it's always nice to be, really good friends with who you play with. Um, but yeah, like, for example, like showing up for practice, it's so much easier to get everyone to be on time when you're in the same house because if they're not on time when you're living at your home and everyone's separated, you can't like go knock on their door or wake them up or like stop them from what they're doing, be like, yo, it's time to practice. You just have to hope he gets there.
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
can call him, but you just not answer. So it's definitely much easier to get everyone on the same page. Watching demos is a lot easier because you can literally stop the demo if everyone's watching one and be like, you need to do this. It's much more direct.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
of course.
definitely better than living at home.
Is there any
It
cons to the team house? I know some people have mentioned that, like for example, it caused Shocks to leave Titan like a long time ago. Apparently, that there were issues with like I don't know, being depressed that he couldn't be with family and friends and whatnot. I mean, do you guys struggle with that at times? Are there some negatives to the team house?
yeah, there's negatives. There's pros and cons to everything.
Right, of course.
Definitely the negatives would be not seeing family. As I'm very close with my family, so moving away from them is really weird. So I think that applies for most of the players on this team. But for me specifically, it's been pretty rough. I really miss my family. Um, Another con would be like, when things get heated, you're in person now. So, just because, we're no longer behind a monitor doesn't mean tempers aren't going to flare anymore. We're still very real with each other. If we don't like something, we're going to let each other know. And sometimes it gets heated, but at home you can just kind of walk away from the computer and cool off. But like here, you're in the same house with the guy, so it's like you can't like you almost can't walk away from the problem sometimes. You gotta face it head on. So it does get a little more tense than if you were back at home, but it's it's whatever. It builds character. That's the way I look at it.
It builds character. I like it. So these are just gonna be our final questions here. First off, like this is the big question everyone always asks before a major is how's preparation going? And I know that you had some players go to the World Cup thing, and so that kind of killed a week of practice. I know some people, as you said, aren't there right now, so that's also affecting it. I mean, to me, then it seems like preparation's pretty rough this time around if that's happening. But I mean, have you guys been able to get really anything done? I mean, are you still hopeful that you'll get some decent prep in before the event?
Yeah, I mean, this time we're taking kind of like the fanatic approach. We've heard from them that they like before a major they just took like a 2 week break. So we're like, all right, why not? Let's take a break. So after they came home from Serbia, they just went straight home, and we've been, and me and Cutler in particular, we didn't go to those events, so we took an extra week basically of a break where we're just we're trying to stay, we're not staying away from CS, but we're trying to make it fun when we play. We're not trying to be serious, and just relax, to cool down from the competitive thing, and then when we get back into it we'll be way more motivated. And when they do come back, which I don't know when they come back, it should be within the week, or at least within the next 5 or 6 days, I'm assuming, is when they fly back. um, we're gonna probably practice really hard, and I don't know if we'll be scrimming. I think it's gonna be more of like map prepping and like creating strats and dry running and things like that. Because we definitely want to have. I mean, we're ready on like those 6 maps, but we definitely want to get some stuff for Inferno done. So that's pretty important for us. But we want to make sure we're at least ready on every map, instead of, whereas some of the past majors we were ready on like probably 4 maps or like 5 maps. We weren't ready on every map. So if we need to surprise someone with the map, we want to be able to do it, because that would really help, especially with like deciders being BO3. That's going to be pretty important for this major.
Right, absolutely. I would say I feel like you're one of the NA teams that, and I could be wrong about this, by the way. So like, feel free to say you're full of it.
Mhm.
I don't think you guys have ever done like a European boot camp like Cloud9 has done, or like a Cole did, or an iBuyPower did at times. Why has that never happened? Is it just something you didn't feel would work for you guys, or?
Uh, we haven't done it, because in the past we didn't have like an opportunity to do it, and well, like the first major, we just couldn't do it. It couldn't happen. I can't go into details, but like we just couldn't do it. The second major, we thought, let's just stay at home. Let's practice at home with the NA teams, because we don't want to give out, maybe like we didn't want to go over there and then give away our strats, because we weren't creating like very many new strats, but we didn't want to go over there and just show everyone what we did. We thought that'd be kind of be detrimental. But it kind of backfired on us, because like our main practice partner left, Cloud9, so we wanted to play against for that major, or for practicing for the major. And then for this one, we had talked about going, but um, the Serbia thing kind of messed that up. We could have still gone, but we wouldn't have a lot of time there,
Mm-hmm.
so it didn't really seem like it was worth it. We just, I think we decided we're just gonna stay home
I
and
mean, is it something you think you
create
might do in
shots.
the future, or?
Yeah, absolutely. We wanted to do it for this one, but I don't think any of us had like actually realized that the Serbia thing was happening until like a week before, I think, or something like that. It didn't really hit us that we're like, crap, it would be like right in the middle of our boot camp. So um, we planned on doing it this one. We couldn't because of that tournament. It's not a big deal. It's fine. The boot camp is not. It's definitely helpful, but it's not everything I think people hype it up to be. It's
Mm-hmm.
definitely bad things about going to a boot camp. If you show off your strats, you could be in trouble, because you don't know who's talking to who. I don't
Gotcha.
know if teams. I'm not saying teams do talk to each other, but it'd be. I find it hard to believe that some teams don't.
Right, I got you.
So yeah, it could be detrimental in some ways. So we will in the future, definitely. Probably if qualify for the next major. Yeah, we'll probably boot camp.
Right. So, what are your thoughts on this major? I know, like, this is the first time we see best of threes being included in the Valve sponsored major. It's not all the way through, obviously. This is the decider. I was personally hoping elimination matches would be best to do that way. You at least guaranteed one BO3 before you get eliminated, rather than maybe going out 2 BO1s. That's just my personal take. But what are your thoughts on the format and stuff like that? I mean, are you happy with this change? Do you think there still needs to be more changes? I mean, what are your thoughts on this, the way this major is set up?
I mean, I think it's fine. I think it's a good compromise to have elimination BO3s. I think that's a fine compromise.
Well, it's not elimination BO3; it's just the decider. Like you can
Or
still get knocked
well,
out in
yeah,
two
yeah,
BO1s.
yeah, the decider. But I mean, it's a fair compromise in my opinion. I think it's fine. I think ideally we'd all like BO3s
Right.
because no one likes to fly. It's not like the Australians have to fly like 16 hours or something ridiculous to go to these majors, and then sometimes they go 0-2 out. Like no one wants to play two maps, and we've done it before. We go 0-2 out. It's just not fun to fly that far and play two maps. Um, so, it, and I know that's kind of like a weird thing to say because like we're professional, so it shouldn't matter. But at the end of the day, we play this game because we enjoy it and we love it, and it's
Right.
like it's just not enjoyable sometimes. And a lot of people be like, "We'll just get better and win." I'm like, "What do you think we're doing? We're trying to get better."
Yeah, yeah, of course.
And it definitely doesn't help that, sometimes you only go 0-2 out. That's not a lot of LAN experience. If you have BO3s, you at least get, if you go 0-2, 0-2, you get two more maps. That's, hey man, that double the experience. So it definitely helps teams get better because LAN experience is a big deal. Um, so it
Right.
definitely helps teams that are first time qualifying for big events. If they get more games in, it'll make them more comfortable. But it's okay, I guess. Decider BO3, sure. I'm okay with it.
So it's a move in the right direction and a pretty solid
Yeah.
compromise, I guess, is the conclusion that you have for it. And that's really
Definitely.
the only difference, I guess. I know. I mean, are signatures and stickers a thing this time around again, or can you not say? I'm
Can
surprised
I
nothing's
say?
been released yet. I mean, I think some people already did mention it because like somebody asked.
Yeah.
I think it was Jakeem or whatever from G2 was like
Yeah.
asking for suggestions. So I think it's already been hinted at. What's taking so long though? I feel like the major's right around the corner and something's been released yet. It's crazy.
Hey man, I don't know. Valve,
You did your part. That's what
I did
matters.
my part. It's all up to Valve at this point.
I
They
got you.
they they don't
I
include
hear you,
us. They don't
man.
give us in the loop at all.
I got you, man. I got you. Maybe by the time I release this video, it'll have already have happened, so it'll look
Yeah,
silly,
probably.
but it's all good. So final two questions would be: what are your thoughts on 2016? I know there's a lot of talk about this TV league with Turner, and I mean, it seems like there's rumors MLG's about to get bought by Yahoo. There's all these, I mean, rumors about ESCA has already been purchased by a big company. I mean, all this, it looks like it's just about to just blow up. I mean, what are your thoughts on all of this potential things that are going to be coming out here in the next year?
2016 is looking crazy. I don't really know because a lot of the stuff hasn't really been like finalized, so we don't know what's going on really. We have
Right.
ideas of what's going on. Um, it looks like it might be more structured in 2016. We might have less of a crazy schedule like you know we've had a crazy schedule, but like Cloud9, their
Yeah.
schedule has been, I don't even get it. They're not human at this point. I don't know how they do
They
it.
just don't turn events down, man. They get offered an event, they're like, let's
Dude,
go. You know?
it is crazy how much they fly. It is
Yeah.
absurd. And like looking from an outside perspective, that's not healthy. And as a player experiencing it, I know it's not healthy. It's not good for you to be flying that much. It's just super exhausting. Um, props to them for being able to do it, man. They're crazy. But hopefully there's less of that in 2016, and there's more of a structured kind of setup. We would like that if hopefully this TBS Turner thing becomes a thing. Um, I don't really know details about it. I
Yeah, no
just
one does, it seems like.
yeah, I just know of it.
We know it
Hopefully it is
exists.
a thing, and it's like for like maybe I don't know how long it would be because I don't know if they're gonna have like a season
Well, they said
or
it's
it's
supposed to be two 10-week long seasons, but I don't know
okay.
if they would film it at once or if they would actually just make it last like 10 weeks for everyone. Like you'd be living out there for 10. I mean, I don't know exactly how it would work, but apparently it's supposed to take up like almost 4 months of the year. At
Okay,
least
well,
at
I
least
hope.
in how it's aired. Like it's aired every Friday
Yeah.
night for I guess 4 months of time, split into 2 different sessions. But again, I don't know if they would film it at once or how it
Okay.
would work.
Hopefully, it's as little flying as possible. That's all I hope. If we have to live out there, I'm totally okay with it. Let's fly us out there and then just like leave us there for a month or something, however long you need me. Don't have me flying back and forth every week or something like that. That seems like crap. Um,
We'll see.
so yeah, hopefully there's less flying and more of centralized and I guess more high quality tournaments, I guess you could say.
Mm.
Also, I'd like to see more NA tournaments because maybe even like a type of uh, NA tournament similar to CPL where I don't want like BYOC because BYOC that I think that's a thing of the past. But like maybe a tournament where like it's similar to Fragadelphia but bigger, where all the best teams in North America can go, um, but then also other teams who want to compete can go, and like they play through a BYOC um, type tournament to get to the main bracket so
Mm-hmm.
everyone can compete in North America. We don't have anything like that. It would be nice. It would help the NA scene. It would help the up and coming teams big time because they don't get a lot of land practice. Either you're the best team and you get to go to all the lands, or you're just going to none. That's almost how it works, and it really sucks for teams trying to break into the
Mm-hmm.
pro scene. They just get no experience. So hopefully there's some more NA lands. Um, it would really help the scene, but that's just fingers crossed. I
All
hope.
right, I got you, man. I got you. Sounds good.
I hope.
So my last question before I let you do like shouts and stuff and sign this thing off, because I promised it wouldn't be nearly as long as my hype episodes in the past, was what's your thoughts on like the current state of CS:GO, like like as a game, like the mechanics of the game? Like I know we saw like that big recent update that changed the hitboxes and stuff like that, which was like massive. That was like one of the biggest updates we've ever seen to the game. First off, like, what's your take on that? And second off, what else do you feel still needs to be changed in order to make this game what you think it needs to be?
Man, I don't know if I don't want to speak on all of pros, but I know a majority of pros, at least in North America, hate the fact that jumping accuracy is so high.
Mm,
We really, at least I'll speak for myself here. I think it's ridiculous that people can jump and get so many kills.
I would
Like
agree.
that drives me crazy. Maybe it's because of my 1.6 background, but like I think it's stupid, and I think jump scout is absurd. Like that does not need to be a thing.
hmm
Um,
I think
but
I
that's
think
just my
you do
opinion.
speak for many people when you say that for
Yeah,
sure.
like I mean, I'll speak for myself, but I know there are other pros.
I
Let's
got you.
just say that
That's
I
a
know there are
very
other
safe
pros.
way to say it.
Yeah, there are other pros who do not like this either.
I got you.
Jumping accuracy, I think, definitely needs to be addressed. I think the hitbox change was sick. I think now it's pretty accurate. Yeah, especially jumping accuracy, or like
When you're
not
hitting
shooting.
someone
When
jumping,
you're
yeah,
hitting
yeah, yeah.
someone jumping is
At least you're not
way
invincible
better.
anymore. You can actually get hit.
Exactly. There
Right.
are spots where you literally couldn't kill them, like overpass at B when they're jump spotting short from jungle. Like you just couldn't kill him. You'd see his
Yeah.
head, you'd never hit that shot. Now you
Literally
can actually
everywhere on
kill him.
Dust 2. Like, I mean,
Yeah,
there's
like
so many spots.
it's yeah, it's terrible. So now it's definitely way better. You can actually punish people for doing stuff like that, which is really nice. But yeah, I think my only qualm with the game right now would be definitely in the jumping accuracy. I think that just drives me crazy.
So nothing else. That's it. That's the one.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's hard to think of anything else really.
Well, I mean, I put you on the spot, so
Yeah.
I mean, that's fine. That's still a good one to bring up. I think it's one that still gets complained about a lot.
Oh, actually,
Oh, okay,
maybe,
maybe,
maybe
just maybe.
the A1.
Uh huh.
Okay, I think the nerf was a little too much. I think they should go back to the original rate of fire, but drop the armor penetration instead of having the armor penetration not there and then having slower rate of fire. They should do it reverse. I think they should bring back the rate of fire, drop the armor pen. That's my personal opinion. Simply because I literally can't use it with the current rate of fire. It drives me crazy. It shoots too slow. I feel like I'm in slow mo when I use it. So I think they should do that. But that's just a personal opinion type thing. I don't think many people would agree with me.
I think we should just combine it all into one M4, but import all the skins for both guns into one gun.
That's a
Whoa.
lot of work.
I know. I'm just.
Holy.
Yeah, I got you.
You're trying to kill the devs at this
Yeah.
point.
Well, you just swap it over, man. Just swap it over. Just one gun. Anyway.
That'd be interesting.
But I definitely appreciate you taking out your time, Hayes. It means a lot. I'm sure the people out in the community will appreciate it as well who want some more insight. They always love to see the interviews, and so I'm glad we could do this. Are there any final thoughts, shout outs, things like that you'd like to get out there before we close this thing out?
Absolutely, man. All my homeboys in Mumble, the Mouse Spaz Mumble, we go back. A bunch of legends in there. We breed greatness in there. You hear me? We are greatness in that Mumble. Also, our sponsors definitely, because our sponsor is the only reason we get to go to events. Twitch, iBuyPower, T2A, Razer, DraftKings, which is our newest one, DX Racer, and HyperX. We don't get to go to tournaments without these guys. And I know people are always like, sell out, sell out. Look, I'll sell out all day if I have to. If it lets me go and do what I love to do, I'm going to sell out. But if you want to support us directly, go to our CLG store. We have all kinds of shit there you can buy. And I wear it pretty much every day.
Yeah. You can also follow Hayes on Twitter, CLG Hayes down at the bottom. Also follow me on Twitter. Also, I did release some vlogs previewing Cluj. I did one for all the teams that are going. So if you want to get my analysis on it, because I do this a lot, I'd appreciate you tuning into that stuff too. But yeah, that's it for this interview. Thanks so much for checking it out, and follow and subscribe for more.